A few years ago, we acquired a house from the municipal council, in which we invested time and effort. Recently, a lady named Karen expressed a desire to buy our house, claiming that she and her husband had considered the property when it was for sale years ago. The reason for her insistence is the fact that we acquired the house before them, which apparently generated resentment. My husband and I made significant improvements to the house, such as replacing the central heating boiler, renovating the bathroom, refurbishing the stairs, and installing a new kitchen. Additionally, we invested in solar panels, revitalized the garden, and renovated the downstairs bathroom. We have lived here for 6 years, love the neighborhood, and value the proximity to family and friends. The process of selling houses by the municipal council involved 6 weeks of visits and the submission of offers. 2 weeks ago, Karen showed up at our door, praised the improvements made to the house, and then made an offer to buy it. Politely, we declined, indicating that we love our home and had no intention of moving. However, Karen did not accept our refusal and continued to insist, becoming increasingly unpleasant. Even after setting boundaries and reiterating our decision not to sell, she persisted, ringing the doorbell incessantly. At one point, she crossed the line by claiming that she deserved the house more than we did, considering the time she lived in the neighborhood. The situation reached a point where I had to threaten to call the police to remove Karen from the property. It's regrettable that something that should have been a polite interaction has turned into such an uncomfortable experience. The love and dedication we have invested in our home are unwavering, and we will not succumb to unfair pressures. I presented her with 2 proposals that I consider quite reasonable. Now it's our turn. We want to buy your house and establish our residence here. However, she insisted with offers that, honestly, we find ridiculous. Knowing the real value of the property, we knew we could ask for double the price. I reiterated firmly that we had no interest in selling our house to her. I went straight to the point, asking her to leave and closing the door. However, she started ringing the doorbell frantically, acting irrationally. Ignoring her didn't work, so when I opened the door again, I couldn't contain my frustration and told her to get lost, emphasizing that we were not interested. Faced with her spoiled and unpleasant attitude, I warned that calling the police would be the next step if she didn't leave immediately. After closing the door, she continued screaming, demanding that we sell the house to her. I was relieved when she finally walked away, but I didn't let the situation go unnoticed. I informed the neighbors through the Streets group app about what happened, and many expressed support and promised to stay vigilant. My husband was surprised to hear the story, considering it is uncommon in our community. This unacceptable behavior from the so-called Karen raised the question of how someone can approach another person, belittle them, and still think they have the right to buy their house. It's simply insane. Her insistence, banging on the door and ringing the doorbell repeatedly, is absurd behavior. If I were in her place, I probably would have called the police earlier to handle this situation. I sincerely hope that this lady does not return, and security measures, such as installing cameras, are considered to prevent future unwanted visits. On a different note, my mother has been pressuring me to have children before it's too late, suggesting that I leave my current boyfriend to find someone wealthier. I am tired of this manipulation, as we disagree on several aspects. She advocates for the idea of marriage, children, and a comfortable life, while I value my independence, focusing on my career and current relationship. Motherhood is not part of my immediate plans, and marriage is not a priority at the moment. Our conflicting views are exacerbated by the fact that she raised me as a single mother, while I chose to live away from her due to her manipulative nature. Just to make it clear, I have no affinity for children. I can't conceive anything worse than a small and sticky thing, the size of a watermelon, coming out of me and ruining my body and my life forever. These little beings only disgust me. I don't even like my cousins, even their simple touch on my arm makes me feel the need to take 4 showers to get rid of the germs. I've even thought about tying my tubes because the idea of having children brings me so much trauma. I don't look at children with love, I look at them with aversion. It's nothing personal, I simply hate them. Constantly, she questions me about when I will have children. She incessantly praises motherhood and insists that I will be alone if I don't have children. She tries to make me feel guilty, saying things like, "Your grandmother will be sad and the family will be disappointed." She criticizes my lifestyle, whether it's the time dedicated to work, my hobbies, or my current relationship. Regarding my relationship, she doesn't respect the person I am currently with. She always highlights handsome or wealthy guys, which makes me sick. I don't understand why she can't accept that I am happy with my decision. She belittles my relationship and implies that a wealthier man would be a better choice. This makes me sick, and I'm tired of dealing with it. My mother should take care of her own life. Let me live my life the way that makes me happy. If I don't want to have children and am content with my current relationship, that should be enough. I can't understand why she feels entitled to make these comments, using my grandmother to manipulate and make me feel bad. If I were in my place, I would move forward, live life to the fullest, and ignore her comments. I wouldn't let those words get to me. I know what makes me happy and what I want from my life. I would ignore this lady because, otherwise, it will be more of the same, trying to manipulate me and lead me to do things I'm not comfortable with. I work on weekends because it's personally more convenient for me. On the last Saturday of the month, the weather outside was pleasant, around 20 degrees below zero. While in the back folding clothes and watching videos on my phone, I received a call on the landline reporting a noise complaint involving children running on the third floor. Upon going upstairs, I found a man and his partner arguing heatedly, claiming that the man's children, running down the hallway, were making noise. I asked them to calm the kids down and come downstairs. Up to that point, nothing out of the ordinary. However, about an hour later, I received another call reporting a flood on the third floor. I was perplexed, imagining that maybe someone had clogged a toilet. I went up with a plunger, but when I arrived, I found the hallway turned into a slow river, water pouring out of the family's room in question. They had booked the room and left the door open. The drunken man, enraged, had torn a fire extinguisher off the wall, resulting in pipes under great pressure. With the intense cold, the water gushed like a geyser. Desperately, I went downstairs to call the firefighters. People were in panic, and my attention was divided in various ways. Water was dripping from the light fixtures like in a disturbing water park. I noticed the water starting to reach the computer monitors, so quickly covered them with garbage bags. I placed laundry carts under larger leaks and tried to dry the water. I searched for the water shutoff valve, but not being from maintenance, I had no idea where it was. The situation became chaotic. A travel agency, which we all detest, called, inquiring about their client's ice cream. I explained the complexity of the situation, in absolute despair. Finally, the firefighters and the management team arrived to help. They turned off the sprinkler system and started cleaning up the water. Ceiling tiles were falling, nearly hitting people, despite my repeated instructions to evacuate. I stopped for just 5 minutes to eat a quick dinner of microwave macaroni and cheese. The head housekeeper, who had just arrived, questioned why I wasn't helping. Although the administrative team supported my decision to finish the meal, breakfast consisted only of a few donuts from the local bakery. I went home exhausted and sobbing. It was one of the most miserable experiences of my life. The memory still leaves me tense and angry. The responsible parties eventually returned, telling a useless story about a shirt on the fire extinguisher. The insurance company basically said that if we wanted to cover the damages, we couldn't file a complaint and had to classify it as an accident. Surprisingly, my appearance was much better than my internal state, despite the panic I felt. The staff, it seems, thought I kept my composure. They said I handled the situation like a true leader, counting the Mississippi with a crowd. I earned a significant raise for it, achieving the closest thing to stability one can get in the hospitality industry. The expression "I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy" became extremely applicable in this context, perfectly describing the situation between the water and the icy air. Honestly, it felt like living through a version of the Titanic, a terrifying situation. Picture yourself as the only worker in the middle of the night, and suddenly, someone ruptures a valve, causing water to gush from all sides. This resulted in a group of extremely unhappy and miserable people. Despite being an unfortunate circumstance, overcoming the adversity made them seen as individuals capable of handling pressure, which may have benefited their careers. The original post author continues to state that they still work at the same location and, despite everything, haven't had a night as bad as that one. This contributed to building a positive reputation at work, showcasing their ability to handle emergencies. In my opinion, facing the flooding of an entire hotel in the middle of the night certainly provides good job security. This story was shared on the I'm the Idiot podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you want to share your own stories. The narrative shifts to the author's personal experience in high school, where, considering cutting all contact with friends, they reflect on their journey since the third grade with friends named Annie, Haley, and Walter. The author describes their journey from being introverted to making friends and the challenges faced with their parents' separation. The text ends with an attempt to arrange a meeting with Walter, although his friends made it clear that girls were not allowed in their group. When I was with them, they tolerated me, but I felt like they didn't care much about me. I played cards or chess with Walter from time to time, but I noticed he was drifting away. We didn't have any classes together, so I felt alone most of the time. Later, in high school, I ran into Haley in the first year, but she was different. She struggled with her parents, who insulted her as overweight, even though she had a proper weight for her height, which was similar to mine. Because of this, she stopped eating. I wanted to help her with that and other things while ignoring my own pains. Wasn't that what I should do, right? I wanted to be a good friend. She asked me not to tell anyone because she didn't want her parents to know, which I understood since they were abusive. I kept the secret as a promise, but I ended up breaking it. The next year, in the second year, it became clear that things were getting worse, and I had to do something. I sought a counselor because I was afraid of what she might do to herself if I didn't act. She went home that day with her parents, and they scheduled therapy for her and gave her medication for her depression. She seemed to be recovering, but she was never the same girl I knew back then. She became bolder and more seductive, which caused many problems in the future that I had to face several times. Boys were all over her, and I had to push them away because she was too shy to defend herself. I didn't realize how mentally exhausting this was until this year when I found out that she was being harassed by several boys outside and inside the school. And I couldn't do anything about those outside because I was never there, but I could take care of those inside. She got involved in so many troubles with boys that it damaged my friendship with another old friend. And guess who that old friend was? That's right, it was Walter. He got furious because we were trying to report his friend, even though I tried to explain to him what was happening. We were arguing, and every time I waited for him to finish so I could say something, he just interrupted me again, which made me very irritated. That was the first fight we had, and I knew he had anger issues before, but I tolerated it most of the time. Now a bit more information about the other guy. I told him to be careful with Haley because she had very low self-esteem, and if he hurt her, he would never regain her trust. She had more boyfriends than I could count, so I've seen this happen several times, both online and in person. He arrogantly replied, "Oh, don't worry about it, I always do well." Which was like, okay, whatever. I told him to respect her boundaries, like when she didn't like to be touched in a certain way. I was basically speaking for her, which is something I never do for anyone. He didn't listen to me, so when Haley came to me asking to go to the counselor, I got irritated but agreed, and that's what led to the fight. Later on, I realized it wasn't my job. I didn't need to do any of that. Why was I getting involved in the first place? Haley carries pepper spray with her wherever she goes. If she genuinely felt uncomfortable, she would use it as she has all the means to protect herself. Instead, she would ask me to do it. Moreover, Walter made it clear that I wasn't a good enough friend. I invited him to various activities since I was involved in many at the time and wanted him to participate. I invited him to my birthday several times. While it was understandable he missed one due to illness, for the rest, he always had an excuse not to go out, even though he claimed to be my friend. I tried to continue being his friend without receiving anything in return. He also got angry when I didn't remember his birthday, while he didn't even remember mine. After everything that happened, I was so angry that I simply blocked everyone I knew, including Annie, who had nothing to do with it. I left it that way for about a month before unblocking Haley, who was in one of my classes, so I can't completely avoid her. I do my best to avoid interactions during passing periods. The problem is she doesn't know I blocked her in the first place. She sent a message between the time I blocked and unblocked her. I think she doesn't understand what she's doing to herself. It might be a reaction from her parents for deciding to do this, but it's starting to affect me as well. Haley told me she started flirting with other guys who now want her as a girlfriend. Instead of reacting as I usually do, I just wished her good luck so she would know I'm no longer interested in helping her in this kind of situation. I'll make it completely clear to her if the situation worsens again. I ended up unblocking Annie too, although she didn't send anything. She's completely unaware of our current situation, and I don't intend to tell her. Since all this incident happened, I'm starting to think it's very challenging to maintain these friendships. My love life isn't going well either because now I have aversion towards most boys and girls. They seem to take things too far, don't understand the words no or stop, and have immature communication, despite us almost being adults. Old age is approaching fast, and I'm tired of school. It makes me question if I'm the idiot for wanting to cut off contact with my friends. Maybe I feel a bit bad about Annie because she wasn't part of all this turmoil. I don't want to involve her in something that requires her to help two rival friends. I've done this before, and I know it's terrible. What should I do? I don't think it's wrong to seek new friendships. The situation with an individual seems unavoidable. He apparently desires your friendship but is unwilling to offer reciprocity. If the girl or guy intends to harm their own life, it's not your responsibility to correct that. It seems like she is making misguided decisions with the expectation that you will bear the consequences. You made the right decision. It's not your problem and certainly not something you should worry about. I hope you find new friends who are genuinely better than this. The way these people are acting doesn't reflect genuine friendship. At the very least, it indicates they are taking advantage of you. You deserve something much better than this. Thank you for watching, and when you subscribe, don't forget to hit the bell to receive notifications. To keep listening to more stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. I greatly appreciate you sticking around until the end of another thrilling story here on the HistoReddit channel. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to share with your friends and family, along with subscribing, leaving your like, and activating the notification bell to not miss any incredible content we are preparing for you. Until the next story.